Hello, Poggers, and welcome back to another episode of the Pog State. I surprised myself. Hopefully, I also surprised everyone else as well. I'm here with Digon, Wolf, and with Orcs as we are getting ready to break down what has been going on here in the LCK. The Fries group has been weird. Definitely, as of today, even more weird, which we will delve into. I have to admit that I am a little emotionally scarred by the absolute, utter horrific play of DK in our previous match that did just happen only a few moments prior. This guy is giddy because he predicted bro for that one. But I don't know. I think that the disappointment kind of outweighs it because DK was supposed to be good. They were supposed to be getting better. Things were supposed to be on the right track, and everything was just lost. However, I think we do need to stay positive, right, gentlemen? There are positives to find with what's been going on in both the Rise group and in the Legend group, especially with the fact that we might have a top three.
If we just keep going with this kind of Fries group moniker that has, I don't even know who started that or where it came from.
I know that Orcs has been continuing it.
I don't know if you guys had this, like obviously Digon grew up in the States as well, but I don't know if you guys had this in the UK or Australia, but when around a certain point, like you could at McDonald's or Wendy's supersize or biggie size your fries. And
Biggie size?
Yeah, it was like Wendy's. 30 cents. Yeah, Wendy's was biggie size. 30 cents, you get like
Do
way
you get
more
a smalls
fries.
for that? Or
No, you don't get biggie smalls. You just get bigger fries.
Uh-huh.
When it was a huge, like it was like about 30% increase. So you guys didn't have biggie size or
No,
super
that's
size?
dumb. It's not
have you guys
real.
You guys heard the movie Super Size Me, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's one of those things that as always Americans have been taunted for, right? Like the super size. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's time though to biggie size the Rise group and put Nongshim and KT in it.
Yeah.
You guys think it's time to put Nongshim and KT in the Fries group? Biggie size my Fries group. Come on.
Biggie
Let's
size
separate
the
it. Let's
Fries.
have a 7-team Rise group / Fries group.
Yeah.
Yeah?
I feel like you know what happened.
I'm down.
You know what would happen if we did that? You'd have HLE just knocking on the door like, guys,
Let me in.
please. I wanted the fries too. It's not fun anymore.
I don't even know who'd be the top of that group based on the
KT.
battering that KT and Nongshim
I
have been
still
taking.
think it'd be. Look, we've discussed this to death, but my take is that KT still, even though they haven't won many games, they still had some competitive individual games. And then you think, who is the top of the Rise group right now?
It's D+.
B and K.
Oh, you mean currently? I think it's.
I think his point is we don't know.
in terms of at the top of the standings is D+, and it's like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I feel like the Fries group has been too inconsistent to really say that I'd rank them above KT. Nongshim, I don't know. Nongshim, like, would Nongshim lose to DNF? Probably not. But, like, also, I don't know where I'd really place them in
Nongshim
the
already
Rise
did lose to DNF.
I mean, again. Like, this is what I mean. I feel like Nongshim are kind of in free fall at the moment. But KT, I still think, like, as much as there's issues, there's problems, I think they're just having a tough time. But Nongshim, I don't know, man.
Dan, you're getting us on track a little bit too much. There's one more thing that I thought you would off-track us with, which is which Fries would each Rise group team would be. Like,
Oh my God.
Yes.
Yeah, I brought this up earlier today.
Yeah, I mean, DK 100% curly for us, and there is absolutely no debate.
Well, I mean, there's that element, but we were actually talking about which, like, fast food franchise would each team be.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's like B and K would be Burger King because they've got the B and the K, you know?
yeah.
Yeah, okay, I'm with you on that one.
And then what was the other one we came up with?
What are the bros? The bros are Five Guys, 100%, because they're Five Guys.
Well, no, you said D+
Wait.
was
Hang
fine.
on, all of them.
Wait, he
all
said-
of them are Five Guys, aren't they?
We
Oh
said,
no!
We said D+ for I said D+ for Five Guys because, you know, Five Guys is quite expensive. It is pretty good.
And they are Five Guys.
But also the bag you get it's a mess and the burgers are crumpled and There's a lot of takeaways from this.
yeah, I'm actually.
I think maybe DNF is Sonic because like it just gets delivered to you. Like, you know, someone brings it out on a platter for you.
Wait, no, wouldn't
and they do it on rollerblades, which is entertaining. They entertainingly deliver it to you, right?
So wait, because DK are the top of the Fries group, does that mean they have to be Lord of the Fries? Because I don't know whether you guys have that, but it's pretty big in Australia, or at least in Melbourne.
The book, right? Lord of the Flies.
No, it's Lord of the Fries. I think it's a pun based on said.
Oh, it's actually a burger chain.
It's no,
I
it's
thought
a
you were just
fries
like
chain.
derailing
It
us
lit-
further.
Oh.
No,
Just a
actually, they
fries
only make fries. And there's a really famous one that's just out the front of Flinders Street Station, and those fries are super good. But like, if you're top of the Rise group, you should be Lord
I
of the
feel
Fries,
like there has
right?
to be, to some element, there has to be localization, and I feel like we are a Korean league because like Digon was bringing up these places
I
I've
said
never heard on.
Zaxby's. He didn't know Zaxby's.
I know Zaxby's,
He
yeah.
didn't know Bojangles.
Help me out here.
I like that song. It's one of my favorites.
But he's just making things up, and he's like, you don't know that? Or is that
Bojangles.
American?
Someone help me.
Mrs. Winters.
Yes. See, like,
This isn't real.
Yeah, no, I got none of those.
I don't
Yeah.
know, I'm
Okay,
from
Lord of the
South.
Fries has to exit because.
It's not worth it for
yeah,
what
yeah.
Digon will populate us with.
Well, actually, maybe
if you get Lord of the Fries, just give
No,
me
I
Bojangles.
don't. I don't get it anymore.
right.
No, yeah, it's not worth it.
we've
Bojangles.
rescinded because
Okay.
it's opened Pandora's box,
Yeah.
and we don't want to look in.
Has to be available in Korea.
I was
think
much
that's
more
the
interested
rule.
in the types of fries.
I'm
Yeah,
down-
the
I'm
type.
down
Because
for
everybody
that,
knows
too.
Who's the
about that.
waffle fries?
Who's
Those
the
ones are
waffling
weird.
team?
DRX is the waffle fries, I think. Mm-hmm. Because they kind of catch teams randomly, like a waffle, almost like a net would.
Yeah.
And sometimes they're delicious, but like if they get even a little bit cold, you
That's
lose all the
true.
value.
Yeah,
And
no,
they're like a
not
little
great.
bit hard to grip comparatively.
What other types of nets are there? All nets are kind of like a straight line net. It's just a string.
I mean, you could have more round than like the waffle. It's a little bit more squared off.
Isn't a round waffle still a waffle?
Yeah, but
Believe
but
so.
the parts that are segmented are squares.
Yes, I see. Okay.
I don't know. I'm really reaching with
Steak fries. Do we have a steak fries, curly fries,
curly fries,
Sweet
was
potato
D+,
fries?
right?
home fries, sweet potato fries?
Oh, like the thick cut fries, like the farmer fries. You
Those
know?
are steak fries, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I think sweet potato fries is one that we could attribute to someone. Like I think it's
I think
good,
that
but
like
not good
different,
for you.
Yeah, different types of fries are also like no fries are good for you, by the way. Like so that doesn't really work because it's all just a disaster.
Max,
What?
You're trying to speak to an American here.
sweet potato fries. They're healthy, right?
What?
Because it's sweet potato. Isn't sweet potato good for you?
No. What? It's still potato.
It's also not good on pizza, and it's not good on toast either. Controversial take.
It's not. It's
in
not.
this
That's
room
not
anyways, with our
controversial.
producers over there, but
No. No one's okay with.
steak fries are something that you have with like steak oftentimes, so they're definitely like a tertiary side.
Isn't it just fries? But it's just next to a steak.
Yeah, but
No,
like,
but it's like
thicker
specifically like
cut.
the thicker cut ones.
yeah,
You know?
they're a little
but
bit.
we also
fat
have
and
those in fish and
uninteresting on their
chips.
own. They're kind
Yeah,
of lazy
yeah.
fries.
So
These
that's
guys
not-
aren't cultured, so they don't get that. But you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. So we designed them, and then they put them next to steak, and then they renamed it.
Yes. Yeah,
Fish and
they do
chips
that a
or
lot.
steak fries? See?
That's very offensive.
Yeah. God,
Yeah,
tell me
shouldn't,
about it.
shouldn't it just be the chips group for you?
Yeah. So wouldn't that just be like? Yeah, that's just chips.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you want to hone in on the pun and be American for fries group, but you don't want to
No, fries are a
go in for the
thing.
steak fries, huh?
No,
you want
fries
to go
are
in
a
for the
thi-
chips
Yeah,
for
fr-
fish
fries-
and chips.
We just
You're playing both
differentiate.
sides.
Fries are still a thing.
We
you
just
know?
different. We don't need to say steak first. We just call them chips.
Yeah.
It's fine.
I don't think we've attributed any of these.
Yeah, no, I think we need to move on.
No, I don't think it
Yeah,
works. I
I'm
don't
sorry.
think,
This
I
has
don't think
nothing
it
to do
works.
with
I
what.
know.
I like the curly fries for DK. That's all I got to. That's
Yeah.
all I really got to.
This is just mindless rambling, honestly.
All right.
But that's most of what we do on the Pugs Day, right?
Yeah, no, this is actually perfect. It's a great start. And so now we can have a look at a little bit of a recap of what's happened here in said Fries group and the Legend group. And I'm a bit apprehensive to do so because, like, I don't like the format that much personally. I don't feel like I don't like trapping Nongshim and KT in the Death Realm. It just feels really rough. And then I was expecting DK to kind of dominate, and they just haven't been doing that and have just looked worse, like categorically worse, apart from when they looked fine. It's so frustrating.
Okay. What were your expectations going into this stage, and how's it differed? Because
So
DK dominating.
yeah, and I also
like I guess KT and Nongshim because one thing for me is like if we look at earlier in the year, especially like LCK Cup, I don't think there were signs that like Nongshim and KT would be dominated this hard. You know, they were a lot more competitive then. So it begs the question: has this format benefited the stronger teams more because they're getting more out of?
I didn't think that it was
of the
going to
schedule.
promote a top-heavy league as much as it has.
Yeah.
That's what I think is like the big surprise for me. And I actually kind of thought that Rise teams would be improving more as well, given better scrim opportunities, but I don't know whether we've seen very much of that either. Because like I thought DK was going to excel because they would be able to pretty comfortably scrim a whole bunch of the teams in the Legend group without them having to worry about their next matchups being leaked or anything like that. But it doesn't look like DK are really benefiting from great practice.
I think I'm the only person who really thought D Plus was just going to get like self-owned in the Rise group. Like you guys know this. I said it to everyone. I was like, "Ooh, if this team goes to Rise group, like I don't know if they're going to have the focus. I don't know if they're going to be able to play disciplined because this is just for me very recently, but like as much as the last 2 seasons, right? Like last year, parts of 2 years ago, but like and then the beginning of this year, but like every time they played against T1, Gen.G, Hanwha, they're like playing really well. And you're like, oh, could D Plus upset? Because they were for a while, you know, one of our best teams, and they were like our 4th best team, and then they kept sliding. But I felt like whenever they played against Bro, you're like, oh, Bro could win this. I don't know why. You start to realize like maybe it's because D Plus just kind of run it down a little bit when they're playing against the weaker teams, and they don't focus as much, and they, like you said on the cast, they don't respect them as much. So I was really worried that D Plus was just going to do that repeatedly in the Rise group, and they've done it like half of the time, right? Half of the time they do just punch down and destroy them.
Well, yeah, this is the thing. They're just coming off back-to-back 2-0s against DNF and DRX, and they actually looked like they were starting to kind of pull back on track.
But
And
maybe
then
that's-
this was just like colossal collapse, probably because they reach coasting.
Yes,
and
it's
then
the
they
flux.
start the coast, and then it all goes downhill. But even in the draft, it's not even necessarily like they're picking champions and then just making like bozo choices on the Rift. It's they're picking like tricky drafts to make work, giving their opposition all of the really simple stuff, and almost like, yeah, like you say, playing very disrespectfully, but like they just don't need to in any aspect of what's been happening.
I think it's
in
kind
their
of
game.
a cope take, in my opinion, but I've heard that on the Korean side, their take about D plus Kia in the top of the Rise group is that they're just constantly limit testing and trying to like do new things and trying to see if they can force team fights in a really aggressive way that where they like turn a fight suddenly, like go in as one and then try to follow up, kind of like what we saw attempted in some of the series today. But I think it's kind of a cope take. Like I feel like they look super uncoordinated. When you see some of the stuff that T1's doing, where you watch the start of the fight and you're like, I don't know about this T1, but then they perfectly play it, and each player plays every moment perfectly, and you see them win the fight or almost win the fight. I'm like, okay, that looks like limit testing to me. What I see from
Yeah.
D Plus looks like a lack of fundamentals going into team fights. And like I've been trying to think about it from the KR perspective. A lot of these games, like, is this limit testing? Are they trying to play this hard draft? Are they trying to win these team fights from a really crazy angle to see if they can do it? And I'm like, I don't see it personally.
Things I can relate with that because I've definitely had solo queue games where I've gone really aggressive, gone 0-7, and then I've just hand waved and said, "Yeah, limit testing." Yeah, definitely. It's a good coverall.
I think if they were supposed to be in the Legend group, they would be dominating. If you look over at LPL, there were 2 teams in their Rise group that are clearly better than the other teams. And so I think that in itself was like, okay, cool, they didn't belong there. And D Plus aren't doing that. So it's kind of showing that they do belong there. And unfortunately, along with what Wolf said, since they are the top of this group, maybe they're not the ones getting better. But I think DRX were able to get better after they made the substitution to go with Yehu and to go with Teddy instead of Yukal and Lazy Feel. I think Bro has gotten better. I think BNK has gotten better. I think everyone else has gotten better.
DNF honestly kind of looking
they've
better.
got better.
Yeah.
They're bringing Quantum in and just looking like a completely different team, just subbing those supports in and out, and their confidence is back. And I mean, sometimes I watch D Plus play, and I'm like, is DNF better than you right now today? Like with some of the decisions.
The way that D Plus play, I think like maybe one of the reasons why it's so frustrating is if you apply empathy to D Plus, you also just get really triggered because they just play on tilt is what it feels like over and over again. and it's almost as if they don't feel like they belong in the group with these teams. And as soon as they start losing to them, they're like, why are these terrible teams beating us? And then obviously they lose even harder. And that happened like very obviously today, especially with like that second game draft
two
really bothered
Game
me.
2, they just at some point they just started running it, and they were
Yeah.
like, "We'll see." Oh, it didn't work.
And I mean, they kind of had to because like the whole draft was about we have to win these lanes, and they just straight up lost them, just one after the other, just fell apart.
Have they won a 2-1 series?
Yeah.
Okay.
No. They've only been in 2-1 series, but they won one, lost one.
Okay.
okay, I was gonna go. Check.
All the other ones have been
But I
pretty
feel like
streaky.
If we generally compare, like if we separate Legend and Rise Group, which obviously we already did, but if we think of them as two completely separate things, I
Yeah.
feel like Rise Group, in terms of entertainment, like we feel like the
It's
teams
hidden.
are getting better.
Yeah.
The games are fun. It feels like the teams are improving, other than maybe D+, who are a bit messy all over the place. But I feel like my view, like I watch a Rise Group, I'm like, yeah, this is going to be fun. Whereas the Legend Group, I feel like we've had more problems there with the beatdowns, And obviously, T1 Gen G, like there's been many periods of the LCK where we've had teams who are just so much better than everyone else. But I feel like this is really an extreme situation, because even when we've had like Bro upsetting Gen G when Gen G were close to having like a perfect run, or even I looked back at last year around this time in summer, and I was looking, and I was like, HLE and T1 were getting upset by like KT, and I think it was like
Nongshim?
Yeah.
maybe Nongshim, yeah, like
Yeah.
lower the table teams, like our top teams were getting upset, whereas like it just it hasn't been happening, and it hasn't even like
I mean, the teams haven't won a single game off of T1, Genji, or Hanwha.
yeah, and for KT, who we think back, like the road to MSI run prior to them getting beaten down, were like a very competitive team. All they've gotten is close games, like against the likes of like Hanwha, like to not even, for them not to get a game, it shows that like something is really going wrong.
It's really interesting though, because if you think back to what was happening before the road to MSI, they managed to win against Hanwha, but otherwise they just beat Rise Group teams. That was kind of how they came back. I'm pretty sure that's how it went. I
Yeah,
think
for
they
KT,
played a bit
yeah.
close against Genji, which hasn't obviously happened since. But I do think that like what has kind of been lost is watching Nongshim and KT actually win ever. Because like they just skip all of those games that they should theoretically have otherwise won.
But I think even then, within the games against those stronger teams, they looked more competitive, and
But you don't ever get that, like, you never get brought back up again. You never get that dopamine hit of, okay, we actually can kill a Nexus.
I
They've
think-
instead realized they can never kill a Nexus.
I think that's the thing. I think the morale hit
Yeah.
is really
Yeah.
hitting the teams, and I think they're struggling to like deal with the fact that it's just lose on repeat.
Sure. And for next season, we switch it by multiple different things, either a hard reset of the standings, but still having groups, by having maybe teams swap between groups after one of the rounds. Like, I think there's ways to fix it.
Oh,
but
I mean, this
I
is
would,
in a theoretical world, of course, Deacon was
Yes.
talking about if we have
Yeah,
a
yeah.
format change next year.
yes, but I would still, unfortunately for Nongshim and KT, sacrifice their mental and their wins for how entertaining the Rise Group matches have been. Like, those have been fun. It as a fan of just wanting to see close League of Legends. Maybe it's not always competitive. Maybe it's not the biggest brain in League of Legends, but close matches against each other. It has been fun because you see all the different colors of all the teams. We've seen the lowest of the lows from DNF, and we've also seen how elated and jubilant they've been when they've got their wins, and that goes for all teams up and down, except maybe T+, where they kind of, even if they win, they're like,
Yeah.
we're still here in Rise Group.
Well, that's the thing is when it was first pitched to the Legend Rise Group, I was kind of hyped because I was thinking, hey, this is going to mean we get like close game. Like you have a day, you have a Legend game, you have a Rise game. They're both pretty close, pretty
That's
evenly
the
matched.
theory, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
and it's-
It has been, yeah, we'll get through the Rise Group game so that we can get to the Legend Group game,
Well,
but it's been the opposite
but, like,
sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, the weird thing for me as a caster, it's been like kind of hard as a caster sometimes on these days in rounds 3 and 4 because sometimes you have the Legend Group game where all the Legend Group teams are like the top 3 especially are so good, but even like KT versus Nongshim, like oftentimes it feels like there's just such a gap and all 5 teams are so much better than the Rise Group teams that sometimes the game is decided like 7 minutes because they've almost like solved League of Legends. Like my comp needs to hit this benchmark. Oh, we got way ahead of that because we won this skirmish on the first dragon. Game's over, and you got to cast it for like 20 more minutes, and like you're just kind of glazing the whole time. Like, oh, look at the macro, look at the map movements, look at the vision, and the team that's behind can't do anything, and you just cast a 2-0 stomp. but it's like beautiful macro, great vision control, like everything from the team that's ahead is perfect. Then you're like, well, we get the Rise Group game coming up next, and then you go into that, and you're like, whoa, I don't know. And you're like, I don't want to say bad things about these teams, but compared to what I just watched, an hour ago, I'm like, oh, how can we frame this? And like I think as casters we're pretty good at it, but it's a challenge. It's sometimes not fun.
Sure.
And I think as a fan too, which is one of my concerns coming into this format this year, was like, one series is better than the other every day, so you might just be like, yeah, I'm going to skip that one, and I want to watch this one.
Yeah, I'd skip the Legend Group game every time.
But wouldn't that happen anyways? Like, wouldn't that happen?
That's what I'm saying. You'd get that more.
Yeah.
But you could also get, like, a day where you have, I don't know, let's say T1 versus Gen.G, and then KT versus Han1 the same day as well.
That's true. That
Right.
could happen.
But the problem is, I feel like
But like that's once a month.
right? Like when what you just described, I feel like only happened, unfortunately, for the fans of the teams yesterday, where it was DRX and BNK FearX who looked like neither team wanted to win, and then KT and Nongshim who
Sure,
forgot
I'm just
how
saying
to win.
there's a bit of a there's like a whiplash between them,
Yeah.
Whereas before, sometimes you'd get also like I don't know, let's say DRX versus BNK, and then also Bro versus DNF on the same day. But you're like, I know what I'm in for today, and like you don't watch one series and then especially if you go Legend first and you watch the next one, you're like, what, are we even in this?
Yeah, there's no
league?
temperature change.
It
At
feels
least-
like you're watching
yeah.
challengers comparatively
I
or
see.
something.
I see.
So it wasn't always like that. Obviously, like the schedule was pretty balanced, but I don't know. As a caster, to me, it's like that kind of day too when you have a Legend Group game like the one we had today that went 3, but it was fairly one-sided games, and then you're like, oh, we got the Rise Group game coming up. Like, keep your energy high. Try to like remember that we're in Rise Group, Wolf. And I think we've all kind of coped with that's Rise Group, baby, and other such comments. But it's been different. I don't know. It feels different with this format to me compared to LCK years in the past.
It's interesting because I actually have the opposite take because I actually think the Legend games are just, and I don't know whether this is a product of the format at all. Actually, I think it might just be a product of the form of the teams.
I think it's more
right
likely
now.
that right now.
Because T1 and Gen.G are just so many leagues ahead of everything that any other team is doing right now. And it's being exacerbated by the fact that they're beating down their direct competition into a point where they're demoralized entirely and can't really face them unless they're facing each other. In which case we actually see, like, Dokdam popping off, like that game 3 that KT demonstrated against Nongshim. Like, if you're a KT fan, you're like, whoa! And, like, you use the E word a bunch of times. I hated that. But, like, you can understand why, people are like, oh, I'm okay with being a KT fan today. But you don't get to feel like that very often because everyone else
Once every 2
obliterates
weeks.
you. Yeah, exactly.
I feel like the form thing is valid, but I feel like, I've had some thoughts about, like, why specifically. Because, one thing is, like, usually if you're playing a top team, like, let's say, like, the old format, right? Or the round 1 and 2, you might have a match against Gen.G, and then 2 weeks later you play against T1 or something, right?
Yeah.
And you can put a lot of focus and preparation into that Gen.G match. It's a big match. You want to try and put your best foot forward. Like, if you're a weaker team. Now, because, like, you're facing strong... Like, if you're KT, you might have, like, Gen.G, T1, HLE, back to back to back.
Yeah.
And you just don't
It's
have
like
as much
you're having
time.
your head held underwater, and you used to be able to come up to breathe for a little while.
Yeah.
But now, you basically never get to come up to breathe, so you're just head underwater.
Exactly.
Almost the whole time.
I feel like as well, and sort of the point Wolf was making, where, like, teams get a lead, and once they get a lead, it feels really hard, like, to close them. Like, these teams are very good understanding of what to do with that. I feel like the teams in this smaller group playing each other more often, like, think how good Gen.G's read of KT is going to be now.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's like once they get a lead, they know exactly what they have to do, who they have to target to, like, take that to fruition. And I just think, like, the better teams are going to benefit more. They're going to learn that we know that historically, like, over the course of the year, like, our top teams do tend to just ramp up and then hit their world's form, right?
Yeah.
And I just feel like it's one of these situations where this intense schedule has meant that, like, they've kind of downloaded you now, so it's really hard to find an angle.
One thing I've been thinking about a lot recently, when you compare the Rise Group and the Legend Group, when you think about the Rise Group, with the exception of D+, I would say, most of the Rise Group teams, in terms of, like, the budget for the players that they have, are all relatively similar. Like, you don't have one team that has Keen, Canyon, Chovy, and Ruler, right? So when you think about that, it's like we looked at the roster of B&K and we weren't like, oh, they cheaped out so hard. This roster's bad. We're like, I don't know if these players are like going to be able to do it in 2025. Like we were kind of down on the roster for that reason. Sure, you still have rookies like Diablo, but like every roster kind of has that. Like DRX still has Sponge, even though they also have Teddy and Rich, who's been around for a little while. But then you look at the Legend group and you're like, well, BDD's in there for KT, yeah. But they and they got Cuz, yeah, and they got Duckdom back, and like it's Peter and it's still perfect up there. And then you look at Nongshim and it's still Gio there, and they got Lehens and Kingen, but it's Gideon and Calix, and like then you compare those rosters to the Hanwha Life Esports roster, and then it just goes up, and then you go to like the T1 and Gen G, and you're like, well, I guess these players have so much experience.
Yeah.
They're so much wiser. In T1's case, they've been together for so long. In Gen G's case, well, they've been together for so long. Hanwha's case, now they've been together for so. You're like, oh, I guess you won't be able to compete with them. Like, how can you compete with these rosters? You're still catching up in terms of your own synergy. You're getting beat down all the time, so you're getting frustrated with each other, probably not communicating as well as you should in terms of comms and stuff like that. Like, a lot of this, frankly, is like a roster and money issue, I think, when you draw the line.
Yeah.
And like I feel like no one's talking about that, but maybe the solution for the future is to try to like snipe some players and invest more in your teams if you're Nongshim or KT or even, D plus maybe, because they had some great rookies that they invested heavily in, but that isn't working out right now. Maybe it'll work out later. But when you do say, I'm just gonna put the bag on the table and get Zeus, like it pays off,
Yeah, I like that because it kind of feels like who's getting the learning here? It's the players, obviously, because they're playing against better competition, but also the team owners, the general managers, the spend that's there to really kind of say, okay, what if we're not just looking for upsets, but we want to be one of the big dogs, and then the reality comes and hits, for that side. But I go back to the Rise Group teams and the Rise Group fans, like. For me, it just feels fun to focus on the team's form, right? On Bro's form right now, or DRX's form right now, B&K FearX's form right now, like you said, and just beat the teams that are in front of you and have wins like that. And then have the opportunity to be the Cinderella story later on and try to get there. So, yeah,
Rise Group is just the rosters are more competitive, like in terms of where the big star players are. Mm-hmm. You got players like Pyoshik, Berserker that are standouts. Obviously, Teddy, same thing. And Closer, who's one of those big stars, has been around for a long time. But it feels pretty evenly distributed, right? So it feels like anyone could win on any given day.
I mean, it's just a coin flip every day.
Yeah, but that's cool. That's why it's fun, right? But we don't have that same parity in the Legend
I also
group
think
at
it's
all.
funny that Egon's talking about the form of the Rise Group, and I feel like the whole vibe is, I'm not the same team I was 5 minutes ago.
Yeah, for better or worse.
Yeah.
That's basically how it goes. I do think that the Rise Group is really fun, but I think the only problem with the Legend Group is the fact that T1 and Gen G are just so much better. And I think after MSI, having T1 come back, I don't know what happened to make them just completely switch on for this entire season.
What happened to fatigue?
Yeah.
Yeah. My expectation was okay, they've just gone back to back between MSI, EWC. These guys are gonna be no, they're just chilling.
Yeah, and this is the best summer that we've seen T1 ever play. This is the time where T1 aren't supposed to be good. And I'm starting to doubt whether we'll even get the slump. And if we did get the slump, it'll be at the worst possible time.
Well, what's
so
the
T1
one
fans
key difference between T1 now, this summer, than any other summer? Doran.
Oh my God.
Are we doing it? Are we going to cast a curse him now? Is this the time? Because I've been holding off. I've been wanting to say it. Wolf and I were talking about it on the cast earlier, and I'm like, is it time? Are we supposed to do it?
It's just Doran.
Is it next week that Doran's just going to straight up run it down? Is that what's happening? Is that what we're doing now, Ox?
We are wondering. Is Doran the best top laner in the LCK? Are we just going to start saying words like that? I'm like, is Doran the best top laner of all? When we said that about Zeus earlier this year, he fell down a little bit.
That's true.
I mean, I think his only Doran's only competition right now for best top in the league is Keen. That is the only competition he has.
100%.
It's not Rich?
It might be King.
Rich! I just want to say Rich really bad.
I mean, Morgan's pretty good.
Oh, yeah.
We have to say that the Lord's pretty up there.
Yeah, I mean, okay, I guess it's
I mean, T1 does need to prove themselves by beating Bro.
I think it's maybe...
And I don't know whether they can do it.
Maybe it's better for Doran and Keen that Morgan is in the Rise Group. Maybe it's better for Doran and Keen that Morgan is in the Rise group so that he can't show them what's up, you know?
I mean,
Digon, give me the stat. T1 hasn't beaten Bro for how many months now?
It's been over 3 months. That was the last time I was going to use it today. I'm sorry. If you've noticed that I was calling back to Nongshim and KT like losing forever, that's why. So all right.
yeah.
Hanwha also hasn't beaten T1 for one single game for how many
Guys,
months?
how long has it been since Genji beat DNF, by the way? Like,
Oh my God, true.
kind of embarrassing.
Yeah.
How long has it been since Nongshim won against DNF? Because that's like almost 6 months, right? Because they lost against them. Second round robin, I think. Was it their last match that they lost? I think they managed to beat them before we
When
went
was
to
the last
think
time
it was their last
T1 beat
match.
Team Liquid?
It was their last match because they went
Worlds
winless in the
2023.
first round robin. So it was their last match.
All right.
I think we're getting into the weeds on this one a little
Yeah, I
bit.
think we're definitely getting into the weeds.
Do you remember when Bro beat Genji? Okay, I'm sorry. I'm done.
There was, I do remember that. One of those times I was actually on a holiday. It was beautiful. It was a while ago. Anyway, I do want to say, like, how much of it is format and how much of it is the fact that T1 and Genji are just so much better than everyone else? Because I'm, like, starting to think that regardless of format, the games that Genji and T1 would be playing will just look the same. Because I don't know whether anybody else has been feeling this, but every time there's like any neutral phase of a game with either T1 or Genji, and I think that they do it differently, but it just feels like naturally they just get more money, like everywhere. Ruler is really like, his performance has been pretty exemplary over the last few weeks, especially. But I feel like him and Chovy are just taking more minions than they have any business being on the map at this point in time. And they just, like, if you let them just sit, then you're 2,000 gold behind.
I feel like this isn't even new for Genji. That kind of
No, I know, but like the same thing is now happening for T1.
Yeah, I think that's the
And
unique thing, you know?
Yeah.
Is that T1 are kind of doing the same thing now. Just
I don't know whether not being in a Legend Rise group situation would solve this, though. It just means that there's more teams that are getting
Do you guys
brutally beaten
remember
down.
when Genji lost to KT and their streak was broken last time around? I feel like those are the games that sometimes are somehow missing from this format. I don't know how. I don't
And
know
it
how
might
to
be because
explain
you have
it.
to now prepare for more teams.
Yeah, I
and
mean, I
stuff.
think Ox was kind of leading into that, like how well you're going to really know KT now after you play them so
Yeah.
many times. But that's what I miss is like the Bro upset against Damwon Kia. That when Damwon Kia was really good, like those types of games. We're just never going to have that in this format in the second half of the year. And I said this when we first announced the format. I was like, I'm a little
I
bit.
mean,
I
that
feel like I'm
literally
missing
did
that.
just happen
Yeah, but like
like an hour ago.
Yeah. I'm talking about like Bro beating Genji right now, basic
Yeah,
levels
right.
of dominance. And those upsets were so hyped because you're just like thinking this was never going to happen. No one walks into Lol Park thinking there's any chance that's going to happen. And then now it's like a known quantity for where KT and Nongshim are right now. And maybe they upset, but it doesn't feel the same because they're supposed to be like in the same group, like they're the Legend group, right? And it's like, oh, maybe they finally did it, and maybe because it takes so long, it still feels like that. But I don't know what it is, but I really want to see Rise group teams play against Legend group teams. And yeah, maybe like you guys are saying, it'll just be also a gutter stomp like what we've been seeing for most of the Legend group. But I don't know, maybe it's just a different drafting style, different angle that catches one of these teams off guard. It's hard to say.
And maybe you also need to see those games for the other ones to feel better as well. Like I think that like it creates a level of perspective that you kind of miss out on. I think like I've enjoyed this like Legend Rise experiment. I would have preferred another couple of round robins, like that's probably still where I'm at. But maybe I'm just old and I don't like change or something like that.
I think
but,
a lot of people don't like change.
Yeah, I think it's a human trait. Just like we
Yeah.
don't like snakes.
I also think it's something I've brought up like 67,000 times. But I think soft reset in the format could have helped, or hard reset in the soft reset in the standings, because I think it has made. I mean, especially because we're approaching like round 5. I think matches for some teams are going to become a bit less weightful, especially like Genji are already. I think they're locked first now, right?
Genji's locked first.
Yeah.
And their score is the same as T1's, like in round 3 to 5.
Yeah.
Their score is the same as T1's, and they're just like hard locked first. Like no one can catch them, which feels like I just think like especially because round 1 and 2 was 18 matches, and round 3 to 5 is only 12. It feels like if you had a really strong round 1 or 2, which is true for like D plus and Gen G in their respective groups, it's just kind of sorted on the vice versa for DNF. DNF were locked out really early, and I feel like it's kind of killed that whole redemption arc because they have started to look better.
2-6. They're 2-6. But they have 2 wins.
But I just feel like there's, it was very quickly, even with the forms that look better, that like there just wasn't going to be hope for them because of, again, that carryover from before. And I think that's something that if there was changes, I feel like should be adjusted.
Yeah, I think going back to your original question with T1 and Gen G, I just think that we had the opportunity to sit down with Faker in the space earlier in the week after their win, and I just think they are led by different types of players. Like when we asked, Wadid's big question was, how do you learn? I learned from you. How do you learn how to get better at the game? He goes, I sit, think about the game a lot, and it just comes to me. And like, what else can you say about that, right? That's what it sounds like Faker would do. That sounds like what Chovy would do. That sounds like when you list all those players there, you have leaders that can initiate that type of change and then infrastructures around them to capitalize on that. And even if you built the infrastructure and you're B&K Fear X, you don't have that kind of generational type of player to help you lead and grow. And I think that's why they've been there. And I think at times, maybe our first jungler to play 800 games could have been that type of player in Peanut, who's just seen so many different metas, seen so many different games.
It happened today.
He was like by far the smartest jungler for a really long time.
Right. But now his form isn't quite there, so maybe they haven't been getting as inspired lately. I'm not sure exactly what it is for Hanwha Life Esports, but those two guys leading that charge.
There was that famous quote by Zeus where he was just talking about the fact that the team just hasn't been on the same page. They haven't been able to fix like coordination issues in team fights and stuff like that. And I guess like they did lose the best top laner in the world and they had to replace him with Zeus. So like they're just trying to fix the potholes.
It must feel really weird for Zeus, like, to be as skilled of a player as he
Funny,
is.
but it's kind of true.
It's funny.
But like,
It's funny. Please don't get mad. It's funny.
Zeus goes into Hanwha Life Esports have coordination problems, whereas T1 never really had that. Like, they had some underperforming players at times, but like they were always on the same page, whether that was a good decision or bad. Like when Faker was injured, they couldn't really play as a team as well because Faker was underperforming.
They had a secondary goat though,
and they did. But when Faker was gone, like they did not look like the same team because Faker's the shot caller and has all the ideas right, and without him, like they can't operate. But going from everybody makes the same decisions, makes the same calls, makes the same crazy calls in team fights, like carry a self ulting and stuff like that. Going from that level of coordination to like where Hanwha's at right now must be pretty weird as Zeus, who's obviously trying to prove that he can win again on another team. And he did, obviously, earlier this year, prove that on another squad he absolutely can take an international title, wins LCK Cup as well. But it's probably for him a weird and new experience. And he probably feels the lack of coordination more than anyone else on that team because he's like, I came from the most coordinated team.
Him and Yike over in, I don't know why I just thought of that, but him and Yike, because Yike left G2 to go join KC and then won the winter split over for the LEC. I think just to be specific to Hanwha Life and this week, they did look better. And the margins were really small with either engage mistakes or teleport mistakes, whatever it was, teleport happenstances. I feel like the progress is there. And, as soon as a couple of these players get back on form, then they can start moving forward together as one. Because it just looks like they're all pulling at different times, same direction, but just all at different times. Whereas, Gen G and T1 are just moving all together as one. So,
although it does feel like Gen G are kind of just cruising at the moment, especially watching Chovy play. Like today, did some really weird stuff on Azir.
The Azir under the tower
has been like chain picking like Galio, Annie, like every series. It's just like, nah, phone, like tell me when the playoffs start, man. Like I'm really
you got this one.
Yeah,
all right, cool.
yeah. I'm gonna take another 500 minions on the side of the map.
I got 13 bomb points. Yeah, you got it.
I do think there's like an element of like we're kind of waiting for the playoffs to start, and I think for HLE this is the right time to like have a decent week, even though you did lose both of the matches. They looked a bunch better. Now they're going up against Nongshim KT. They should look even better. And then they're prepared for exactly when the
They
play-in
actually
starts
face
or the
Genji
playoffs
again
start.
next week.
Yeah, it's KT. Then.
Oh, they do. So we get a reset. Oh my god. Okay.
So, I mean, to be fair, I don't think you just come off of a matchup where obviously you got beaten by Genji, but it was the closest you've had against T1 or Genji.
Yeah.
You get a chance to kind of reiterate.
No,
and
I think
adjust
it's fine.
some
I think
things,
this is
so-
they're certainly seemingly ramping up.
Yeah.
I think Peanuts 800s are going to look way better than the last bit of the 700s.
I also think this week was harder because
that
they
was
had
a good line.
they had T1 and Genji this week, whereas next week they just have the Genji matchup.
It's KT Genji as far as I
Yeah,
know.
so
Yep.
I think it is going to be, if they focus everything on that matchup, it's obviously it would be an upset, but it's not unwinnable.
I'd agree. I think it's an interesting week for predictions if you're going to predict when teams are going to start, their research. I feel like a lot of these round robins and stuff like that feel like a horse race. We're at the middle of the horse race, and even if your team is in sixth place, that could still be the horse that wins,
I've
right?
just realized, which would be really interesting. I'd love to see what our prediction rate is, not overall, but split by group. Because I feel like for
my Rise preds have just been a disaster.
for Legend, I feel like everyone must be on 95% or something, or close to really
Oh, I'm not.
high.
So I came into I made some bold decisions at the beginning of this
Okay,
season.
but I feel like for most of us, round three
Well,
to
sure, from round 3 onward, though, maybe.
Well,
a little
with the
bit.
groups.
Oh, yeah.
For
Yeah.
for Legend group, I feel like most people for Legend group must be 80% of the lowest, and then Rise group I feel like my Rise group predictions might be 30%. Or something. A coin flip would have beaten me,
Yeah.
Honestly, I mean, it's a coin flip that seems to win all the games as well, is
Yeah.
basically how it looks. Unless it's DK versus BNK or Bros. They just can't seem to make that one work.
So the sheet asks the question:
Uh-huh.
4th, 5th, so KT Nongshim versus Rise 1st, 2nd. Who do we definitively think KT Nongshim are better?
Can we just raise hands?
Because I think so.
I think, because Orcs went into this earlier on, I think KT are clearly better. I think Nongshim might lose to both.
I think Nongshim are better. Clearly better.
I think KT 100% categorically, no doubt in my mind. Nongshim, I think they probably are better, but also I feel like they're kind of in free fall, so I could see them just matching up and losing. I could see them bombing out of play-ins, and it wouldn't surprise me too much.
I actually think Nongshim have a decent matchup into BNK, but I think they lose to Bro.
That's what I was
where
going
my
to
head's
say.
at.
If you could give me Bro and B&K, I think D+ just look too...
Well, Bro is not 2nd place in Rise Group.
I know.
If you tell
just
DK that
saying.
it's life and death, then maybe they'd
See,
maybe they'd
that's
figure
the
it
thing.
out.
If KT likely, if we continue with the trend we're at, KT likely won't end up in play-ins. But if these teams went into play-ins, KT would 100% come out on top.
KT would come out.
undefeated. Nongshim, I don't know if they'd come out undefeated. Right?
I think because you've just said that though, it's doomed.
Yeah.
I mean, Gyu is the liability that we're I don't know. But
Where's Trigger though, guys?
I feel like Gio is just every moment we're come on, man, we know what you can do. We know you can step it up. And then when he died mid lane to Ruler just kind of walked at him and killed him. I was like, brother, what?
Yeah. No flash. Just decided, nah.
But even just
I'll
how,
save it for
how
next
do you
game.
end up in that? I just feel like he's been making some crazy fumbles, and it's just it's not even. He's, this is really harsh, but I feel like even he's bottom end 80 carries in the whole league at the moment in current performance.
Oh,
Yeah,
100%, yeah.
when your bottom team has Berserker and then your second to bottom team has Teddy as well, it makes it pretty clear that
Yeah.
it's pretty obvious. Yeah, sadly for Gyu.
And this is the thing, because Gio's he is the weak link on his team. I think Calix has also had some struggles as
He's
well.
gone under the radar without a lot of criticism, I think.
Yeah. But Calix has been having some tough times. But it's mainly overshadowed by just how much worse Gio has looked. And Wolf brought up the point, right? Because all of the Rise teams, it feels like they're missing a bit You know, KT's the same, right? Perfect, like, is the obvious.
There's a hand
sorta, like,
missing there.
There is like there's like they've got like little nubs instead of some of the fingers. You know, like that's just what it kind of looks like. Whereas
They can't form Voltron.
yeah, that's what it is. There's like no Megazord for you.
Yeah.
It's time to biggie size the Rise group.
Yep, I think maybe it is. time
That's
to
how we
biggie-size
fix
the
it for
Rise group.
next year. Just 3 teams in Legend.